Thank you. I think this will be a topic that will continue with in the panel discussion. Thank you, Marissa, once again. And it is a great pleasure of introducing our next speaker, Martin Sweinberger from the University of Queensland and co-director of LADA. Martin, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mikko, for the kind introduction. My talk will echo a lot of the themes that have been mentioned by, for example, Krista and Barbara, but also by Marissa. But I wanted to take a kind of bird's eye perspective a little bit and basically look at the advantages and challenges of computational thinking in the humanities and what we can do about them, right? So just to give you a little bit of background about myself, I'm lecturer in applied linguistics at the University of Queensland, and here I'm co-director of the Language Technology and Data Analysis Laboratory, LADAL, which is part of the Australian Technologics platform. And I'm also a part-time associate professor at the Aqua Aurora Center for Language Attrition, Variation, and Learning at the Arctic University of Norway, right? So let's get to it, right? So I think that when we think about our childhoods, then we see that a couple of things have changed, right? So there definitely was a computational revolution, and it has affected, or it's now affecting most of the aspects of our life, right? It comes from, well, it goes from traveling to research to the economy and business workflows to even our private lives and intimate relationships, right? So the computational revolution definitely had an effect on us, not only as a society, but also on us individually, right? And this trend seems to become ever more strongly, right? So the trend towards computation, is taking up speed, even though we're in the middle of that revolution. And here I just wanted to show you some of the aspects of the computational revolution that relate directly to the humanities. Why? Because they relate to language data and language analysis. So we have things like machine translation or error spelling correction, topic modeling or named entity recognition. Search engines are essentially distributional semantics, right? So we see these applications of humanities concepts and theories, and they are at the foundation of really the largest companies that we have in the world at the moment. So humanities thinking, in a way, is really at the core of the computational revolution, just that the computational revolution automated and applied lots of concepts that we actually, as people or researchers in the humanities, are very familiar with, right? So there's actually a weirdly intertwined relationships between the humanities and computation. So now when we look at the humanities at universities, right, and we think about research options that computation offers, we see that there's a vast potential, right, because computation would allow researchers in the humanities to extend basically their research profiles, right, and to adapt or answer questions that we weren't able to answer before, right? So adopting computation is essential for research in the humanities because it taps into really new opportunities. It opens up new pathways for research, right? Also, it means that actually we can keep pace with other fields, right? We see that fields who are better at adopting new methods and innovative procedures and technologies receive more funding, right, and have more spectacular outputs. So it's also a question of just keeping pace. And on an international level, it means that also universities and nations need to basically be aware of competitive advantages, right? So adoption of technological or computing aspects are important to well, to be competitive, right? Another aspect to computation is that it allows us to apply what we know and create technologies and softwares that help people, right? So it's not only that, for example, when we look at language learning and teaching, which is a field that I'm very familiar with, there you see lots of applications that are really transforming and learners and how we learn, and they really directly spring out of the humanities. Now, when we look at research itself or research quality, then also computation has potential by improving not only reproducibility, which is very important, but also transparency. So it's not only enough to reproduce something, but we don't know how. It's also important that we reproduce what people are doing, the decisions they take, and to make research really transparent. So it's not only about reproducibility, but also about transparency and efficiency in the sense that workflows and scripts and notebooks that we use can be reused, right? So it's also a question about sustainability. And as Barbara pointed out, there's a huge advantage in open science and public engagement, right? When you open up your resources and share them with others, then basically we can share resources by not having to spend more money on collecting the same type of data, but by being able to reuse data that's already collected. And also we can publicize what we find much better using social media, right? So these are the advantages and potential of the humanities, of computation in the humanities. Now, there are also some problems, right? Because there's only a partial awareness of the issues that I just mentioned, like that maybe transparency and reproducibility needs to be improved. And some journals actually have taken up that issue, and now they promote pre-registration or sharing of data code. So there's kind of this partial awareness that that's a good thing, right? And we also see new fields emerging like literary statistics, digital humanities, corpus linguistics, and computational linguistics. So some of them are older than others. I think that computational linguistics has a longer history, for example, than literary statistics, which is relatively recent, right? But also we see that there's an increasing demand for training and education in computational methods. So it's not just there, but we actually need to train people to have the skills to do this kind of research. And also the training is basically required by students, or they ask for these kind of skills, to be trained in these skills, because actually it allows them to be more competitive on the labor market. So that it's really an employment factor. The issues when you think about computation in the humanities, it's something that Krista mentioned, right? It's that there's a general attitude of uneffectiveness and irrelevance of transparency and reproducibility. People just think that's not relevant to me. I don't work like that. I don't care. There's also just an unwillingness to change custom practices, right? So we do the things the way we do, and it's that's just the way that it's done, and that's also a problem. So there's no real incentive to adopt best practices, or there's a reluctance to do so. Although the transparency in research, as I said, has advantages when it comes to access to sharing of data, but also we heard before by Michael and Simon that there are other issues that come into play, like that people don't trust open science and they don't want to give it away, and there's also cultural conflicts, right? Another problem is that there's an over-reliance of existing commercial tools, which makes it difficult, right, for people to be transparent and to share results. And one of the major problems that I see in the humanities is that there's vastly different needs across disciplines. So it's not only that people do very different types of research, but also the experiences are very different. Practices are different, the experiences are different, and the skill levels are different. So when we talk about the humanities, or HAS, humanities, arts, and social sciences, it's a very, very diverse group of people with very different disciplines, right? So it's very difficult to provide skills. Now, one thing that's important here is that we think that there's a lack of training and a lack of programs and resources and infrastructures. And Marisa already said, well, we're building up infrastructures, and that's really fantastic. And I'd like to emphasize the training side here, right? So we need materials and training for both general and specialized audiences. Now, when we think about this training, we need a range of experts, right, for the skills that are needed, because we have such a diverse field. And we need people in computational linguistics, data scientists, and analysts to train other people in the humanities. What is important is that they must also have a health background. If we just import people from IT, I think that won't work. So we actually need people or humanities scholars who have data science skills, because they will play a major role in basically training other researchers. In Australia, that's a problem because we really have a significant shortage of people with the right combination of skills, right? And also that means that we not only need the people, but we also need really new programs and systematic collaboration between research units in universities, university libraries, but also IT departments to cover this skills shortage. Now, one thing that we did here was that we set up the LADAL, the Language Technology and Data Analysis Laboratory. And that's supposed to be, or we aim to be, an e-research support infrastructure for computational humanities. And we try to show people the basics of empirical research and data management. We provide resources for acquiring computational skills and basic programming. We have tutorials on data extraction, transformation and processing, data visualization, going from mapping to interactive graph, but also just basic data visualization. And we have lots of tutorials on data analysis, from very basic statistics to advanced statistics and machine learning. And we also have many tutorials and case studies on natural language processing applications and text analysis. So the resources we provide here at LADAL are meant to enhance existing research programs and to offer new pathways for research in the humanities. So exactly what Barbara talked about, we want to skill up people to do such types of research themselves. So I'd like to thank everybody. If you would like to get in contact, here you have my contact details, and I'd like to invite you to explore the LADAL website. And the link is there. Thank you very much.